All right, good morning, good evening, good night, NFT Live, Web3 Network, Monday, another week in Web3, another week in crypto. Excited to be sitting here with my co-host Gifted. Excited that you decided you wanted to hit that button. You just wanted to hop in here, enjoy the time with us. We were just going to get started. We got a ton to cover over the weekend, a lot on the DeFi front, some things happening in macro crypto that should be getting your attention. We had an NFT mint on Friday. As well. We had a Genkai Mint on Thursday, I believe, of last week. So a lot of stuff to recap, but let's recap a little bit with my co-host here, Gifted. What's up, brother?
Oh, it's great to be back on another Monday with you, Sir Q, and any of y'all tuning in on YouTube or Twitter or Twitch or I don't know. Where else are we? Where else does this go? We're simulcasting. That's all I know. So wherever you are,
acts like he doesn't know where this show goes. Last week he was talking about the people that watch this afterwards, like they were just non-existent. So
no
we
idea.
See you, folks.
I had no idea anybody caught this after the live stream ended. I thought it was live people only.
But, so DP's in here saying we're 9 minutes late per usual. Listen,
so then aren't we right on time? Aren't we right on time then, DP?
This is live showbiz, man. This is tough work. Give us a little bit of a break. Jeez, it's good to see you on a Monday. All right, well, like I said, we're going to cover a bunch of things on today's episode. We got CryptoDickButts is probably the most interesting piece that we saw come across our desk this weekend. They're basically being sold off. The IP, the collection, the treasury. The team is saying, deuces, we're going to give this to somebody else. Gifted had an interesting take that I'm liable to talk about here on the show because that's going to be one of the main topics today. But we got some other things. We got some NFT liquidity being down. Yeah, welcome to the space. If you've been here for like the last 3 or 4 months, that's been the status quo. So we're going to cover a lot of those things. Gift just got off a GM Web3 morning show. I'd love to touch on that, Gift. Did you take any insights away from GM Web3?
Yeah, it's always a great time over there on the Spaces X with the fam on GM Web3. And we had, I think, a very low-key, heartfelt convo about the state of the market, the state of life. Got into some interesting headlines as usual, but it's a little bit of a slow day. To your point, there's a couple interesting things popping up, but not like a lot of really, really massive earth-shattering new headlines just yet. But just wait until after we end the show, and then all hell will break loose, because that's what usually happens, is the biggest headlines drop right after we stop streaming. But no, it was a great convo. Yeah, it was a great convo. And, I actually really enjoyed kind of doing a little bit of a recap into Punk 6529's recent interview on Empire that you recommended. So props to you for finding and recommending that. I finally got all the way through it. And hey, Punk 6529, he knows that I exist because he retweeted it. That's pretty cool. I was just like sharing out like, hey, have y'all checked out this interview? If not, I highly recommend it. And I got a retweet from the man. Much love, much respect. One of the few.
Easy on the
One simping. Of the few. I'll simp for a minute. One of the few thought leaders that I truly think is a thought leader in the space, but also maybe more interestingly, one of the only fully anonymous thought leaders that I can get behind. I don't get behind anonymous founders much. It's not really something that I do. But somehow he's built a track record as a fully anonymous person and is able to maintain that status as fully anonymous while doing, big interviews around the world and shit. And anyway, there's a recap for you. And also, this isn't financial advice. So thank you for pulling that up, because it's important that we remind all of you that nothing we talk about on any of these shows or anywhere is financial advice. We're not financial advisors, and information was found publicly on the internet. Opinions shared on this episode are solely of the Web3 team, and you should always do your own research.
Fantastic job there, Gifted.
I got through it.
I know. I was questioning there for a moment, but listen, I'm getting out some tweets. I'm getting out some Discord announcements here as we get set to go live. We'll probably be live for the next hour. about. So let us know what you want us to hit, man. I know there's like other things going on besides what we're going to talk about. So if you've got anything interesting that you like brought up or topics, we can throw them up on the screen. We can debate them. We can wax poetic about them. We'll be up here. So Quantum Variant saying Puck6529 is the best, and he follows me too, like you all should. Everybody should follow Quantum Variant.
Cosign
on that. All right, I'm going to start a poll really quick.
Should you follow Quantum Variant?
I'm not running that poll because the answer is yes. It's not
the answer is yes. We already know.
All right, like I said, there's some macro things happening in crypto that we should cover, but let's take a look really quick at the trending floor here on Blur. So we got Mutant Apes sitting up there being heavily traded. Miladies, Digidaigaku, Moonbird's at 1.60. So about 0.1 under my floor here, or 0.01 under my floor purchase. Not that far, but I'm down on my Moonbird right now. Anyways, I'm up on Oni Force. Oni sitting at 0.95. That looks pretty good for them. I think they settled around 0.8 relatively quickly and were bought up. Beans and some other collections we can definitely touch on, man. Anything on the NFT floor front that really caught your eye over the weekend? I know Ether was one that you brought up on the show.
Grapes. I don't know if the grapes are on here, but oh, there they are.
Yeah, grapes are popping off.
Yeah, they've been popping off. I think it's some speculation around a token, and obviously Animoca backs this. So this was partnered with OpenSea. It was a C drop. We were talking about it when it launched, maybe 2 months ago, a month or two ago. And it's an interesting project, relatively low supply, which is good. It's like one of these like cutesy. I think they're going for like a gaming brand. Obviously, it's Animoca, so that makes sense. It'd be some kind of like fun gaming thing, maybe a mobile game. But if it has a token attached to it, that's pretty exciting. Yeah,
that token is currently being traded, I believe, too. We can pull that chart up. That's a tough. I don't remember covering this, man. We cover a ton.
I covered it. I covered it. You did not.
But I should have been on the show then.
You probably just didn't take it seriously. You probably heard the name Grapes and you're like, oh, this sounds dumb.
I mean, I've seen way shittier names in the space. Cyberkongs Genkai. So Cyberkongs are down 25% on the 7-day. That it's again tough to look at that collection because both the babies and the OGs are on the same contract. So I need to break that up a little bit. What other movers do we have here? Proof Collective looks to be up on 20% over the last. It's crazy that we're talking about projects being up a certain percentage, like over 20% in this market, because that was one of the major topics that we were touching on, which is low liquidity. Everything seems to be wrecked. People are working, founders are building, and it doesn't seem to be translating to floor price. And that's the general feeling we all get. But we do see projects bucking that norm a little bit, which is why we're bringing up floor prices.
Yeah. Well, it's just cool to see and try and find the projects that are doing interesting things and figuring out how to keep attention, momentum during these trying times, because it's very few of them, right? They kind of stick out like a sore thumb, the ones that are actually like getting any traction. And it's kind of one of those things to like keep yourself sane, is like, hey, oh shit, there's a project doing well. It's like, just like reassures you slightly to be like, okay, somebody's doing well. It might not be us, but like somebody out there is doing well with NFTs. Thank God. It's not all dead. Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to see Oni, kind of starting to bump a little bit again, because that's one of those that it hasn't made any sense to me. It just has continued to be beat down despite all the things that they're doing, which is tremendously positive. It didn't make any sense. So it seems like that, again, I think you timed that immaculately. So good job, Q. He got in around 0.8, which is.
Yeah, I mean, so breaking this down, right? Like I was able to buy some Onis, so I already had one, but like I'm making a conscious choice to like get more involved in that ecosystem. The Discord is not as active as I thought it was. And so I think a lot more is happening on the team front than I think the community front. I'm not saying that there's nothing being done, but I think when I join that ecosystem, that's one thing that sticks out to me of like, okay, why is this price going this way? Some of it might have to do with the fact that the community is not that active. at least in the Discord. So, you know, I'm just basing it on other Discords that I'm in and other communities that I'm in.
What is one besides like other space, because I know why that's active. Can you name a Discord right now, Q?
Oof.
From a project that's super active and positive and vibrant right now?
So one that is active is Crawley Town that I'm in. So WAGMI United is active. Whether that's positive or negative, I don't know. But there's that's the thing of having that NFT project associated with that team though. There's always going to be something going on. You know, so like there's going to be people talking about the team, talking about the additions. A lot of it is how do we get, you know, utility for the token and all this stuff. Like you guys are scammers, that comes up sometimes, but that's quickly dealt with. But I'm looking at it now. WAGMI, things that have to do with, you know, other side. So other side wiki, other spaces you mentioned, Bored Apes. Yeah. So I'm there's a lot of that is based on one of the biggest projects in the space, but that was my general reaction going in there. It's like, I thought this would be a little bit more active based on the, you know, notoriety of the project.
Hey, fair point, fair game.
Again, I'm not trying to be a shill up here. That's I like this is where people are coming in talking about us shilling our bags. Like,
well, I think
I said one negative thing there about Oni, and
well,
I feel like
what I'm trying to get to is how much of a litmus test is that in general for how projects are doing right now? Because, you know, you can look back a year and a half, 2 years, and you would say one of the most important measurements or litmus tests for an NFT project success was how active is the Discord. And I guess as somebody who spends very little time in Discord these days and for the last however many months, like I don't actually even know. Like you tell me right now when you're looking at a project, how important is the Discord to you? I would love to know, is it still like top 3 things of a project that like if it's not a lit Discord, then it's not interesting to you? Or is it kind of like less important? Let me know in the chat what you think, because I honestly don't know how important Discord is or should be at this point. But obviously it still matters. Like I know it's, you know? It's where a lot of them do, but a lot of people just do on X, on fucking Twitter, or on Telegram, or other places too. So obviously it's still important. I just don't know how much. But the other thing that you reminded me of, you were talking about Crawley Town and WAGMI United. This was a fun headline that we didn't get into yet. And that's that Baron Davis is apparently circling the idea of trying to have a fully decentralized NBA team, which would be really cool. Because if you aren't familiar, the Green Bay Packers are actually community owned. It's like one of the only professional sports teams that's actually owned by the community in a meaningful way. And I don't think there's, other than maybe WAGMI United, like I don't think there's any NFT project /DAO sports teams yet, but you could see that happening. Like as DAOs become more of a proven model of success, proven ownership and management model, governance model, why not have a sports team that's managed by a DAO? How cool would that be to be in a DAO running an NBA team? Might be cool. Might be chaotic and miserable, but like could be cool.
Yeah, you know, you can unpack the WAGMI United stuff and say like, here's where having an NFT associated with the team has gone wrong, right? Because it's exacerbated all the issues that they've already had to face just being, you know, buying the team without the Web2 concepts and all that stuff. So I don't think that equation or that solution has been found for having a team associated with a DAO. Certainly not like fully owned by a DAO.
Well, WAGMI's not a DAO, is it? WAGMI's just an NFT project that has centralized ownership.
Exactly. And you see already the issues. So I think you can compound that sometimes if you're thinking about adding the complexity of a DAO. You know, they just launched an NFT associated and they're already seeing a bunch of like issues and all this stuff. So I just think that it's a complicated question. Chaz is saying, speaking of Kongs, what do you think about the Supreme Con project? I need to check that out. I haven't looked at it. So we can take a look while we're live here today. While we're on the subject here, floor prices and whether that matters, and you know, seeing teams build and seeing floor prices continue to go down in some cases, Damboard is asking a good question. I always love these questions that are like, hey, this is not simping or this is not coping. I just really want to know the answer. And so he says, I want to open a discussion. How much lower do you think the BAYC and MAYCs go? No copium, just realism. It's going to be interesting to see people's thought processes. This really kind of blew up. The comment section is fairly long. There's a lot of interesting takes here, but I want to open that up to the group here, to you, GIF. I mean, I'm looking at the floor prices now. Let me pull them up. But I think Bored Apes. So Bored Apes are sitting at 29.5 and Mutants at 5.6. You got rid of your ape around 50 ETH. So that was a good call. 50-ish. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But I think it's a fairly okay conversation to have. Like we're not saying Bored Apes are going to zero or Mutants are going to zero or anything like that. Where do we think they settle and why? It's important to kind of point out too that on that thread, there were a lot of people saying like, hey, the only utility for owning these right now is like a party once a year and staking. So that was some of the points that were brought up there. But GIF, I'll open that up, man. Where do we think it settles and why?
I mean, I think I would argue that point. I think there's more utility than just that. You're part of actually like a really legit fucking club that's doing cool things constantly for its holders. Like this whole LA meetup was pretty fucking lit to, demo the other side. They just launched the Made by Apes platform. I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit reductive. So I would kind of argue that. Before getting into any sort of future predictions, I would say so far my prediction has been accurate. I sold mine around like 48, 49, somewhere around there. Said it was going to keep going down. And then when you initially asked me, I said it would at least get into the high 20s, which it has now more than once. So take that for what it's worth. I don't get them all right, but I've been right so far on this one. And that was just just judging momentum and sentiment in the market.
Yeah.
And whatever. How much further can it go? That's an interesting question. I think it stays in the 20s. Maybe it dips briefly below 20, just like I thought it would dip into the 20s, into the high 20s. Maybe it dips to like 2019-ish. I think it's a stretch for me because I think that there's very few people that are going to want to give up a Bored Ape for that, but it's still a lot of money. And if people are desperate and, things aren't turning around, you can see some people just being like, fuck it, take the 50K or whatever, take the 40K and just get out. You have to put yourself into the minds of who are these buyers and sellers, right? And if they've round tripped from let's say 1 ETH to $500,000, and now it seems like it's going down, you can see some people just being like, fuck it, dude, I can use that $40,000 right now, man. Just get me the fuck out. But at a certain point like that, I think people are just going to want to hold, right? So yeah, I think it's going to be tough for it to break 20 ETH. So I think it mostly stays in the 20s for Bored Apes. For Mutants, I don't know. I'll think on that one a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm going to try to pull up the Blur's interface here to take a look at the floors that we see. It's kind of tough sometimes to break it down. I want to make sure I get this. So we have 373 listed. I definitely want to look at what Quantum was asking us to check out, which is the basically like how thin is what we're seeing right now. So we can take a look at the bids as well as the listings. So you can see this is the florist of apes sitting here at 29.47.
It's hard for me to imagine at 20 ETH that there's not going to be other people that actually have liquidity wanting to come in and sweep those floors. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to go below 20 ETH. I think it stays in the 20s.
Yeah, so there's 17 apes below 30 ETH floor. If you take a look at the bids, you can see the size is not large. So the actual requests from the buy side are not large. You can see 28 even only has one bid. You really only start, it looks like 28, you actually, that's 28.8. But once you get down to 28, you get 116 bids here. The thing with these bids is like they can be spoofed. Like everybody know, if you made your way around an order book, you know that these kind of walls can be spoofed. Obviously they can be eaten up too. And whether this like whole block is machi is tough to even break out. I'm sure we could if we looked into it. I know I do not want to enter that bid, sir. But we do see 118 willing buyers, or at least willing bids, at 28. So we'll see where that goes. I'm sure that's kind of looks similar all the way down, is the point I'm trying to make. So you probably had hundreds of bids from the time that we were in the 30s or 40s, even beyond that. Again, probably can't confirm it, but that's just my experience on these books. Kevin is saying it will turn out that in the end, BAYC will not be the thing that everyone's once thought they were, and it's absolutely astounding to watch the loyalty cult level stuff. Listen, that's that's what Bored Apes turned people into when they made people a bunch of money. And if you were lucky enough, I will say there's an element of luck to this, of timing when you made the sell, then you're BAYC for life. You know, it's that simple. The amount of airdrops that they created, the amount of value they created for their holders is absolutely astounding if you held through the whole thing. I know guys that purchased a Bored Ape at 1 ETH and sold it 4, and they got the value.
Even the thing is, even if you didn't like sell a bunch of it at the best time, you've still accrued a ton of value because of just the amount of things that they've pumped out for their Bored Ape holders. So yeah, that's obviously been a big part of it, but it's also just like the timing and what it was. Actually, there is some value in the IP itself, you know, and again, it's really tough with Bored Apes to separate it from utility, but like there is actual value just in the art. Like nobody wants to really talk about that or see that much yet, but Bored Apes are an icon now. Like they're a global icon. Like if they're probably, other than maybe CryptoPunks, they're like the most famous NFT crypto native brand in the world.
There's provenance in that, in our perspective. So I actually appreciate the other side of this that Kevin's bringing up, though, because like in order to have these conversations, you start to kind of unpack what is the actual value of apes now. The wrench that's thrown in that, though, is because of the market, and we've gone from 145 floor to now sitting at 30. People can always point to that and be like, well, the value's not there. Still there's 60K in value, clearly. Like it's holding in this market at 60K, so there's some element that there is value. Whether that continues going down, I'm sure there's people that believe it'll go below 10, that'll go below 5. Hey, well, let's continue to have this discussion, but one benefit of being a Bored Ape holder is that if you lived in LA or near LA, or you got the invite to the test for the other side meta, and I believe some of it is Legends of Mara. I don't think it's Legends of Mara related, but I think it's other side related. They had this test in LA. Let's watch the trailer real quick. Let me turn off this music and let's watch this trailer for a moment, because there were some really cool tidbits of info. Baron Von Hustle in there. Yo, actual side note, this guy right here, I'm not gonna, like, one of my there's an interesting story here with Zek 3D. He and me went to the same elementary school in Hawaii.
That's wild.
Like randomly met through, I think I saw a photo of him one time, so I sent him a DM. I'm like, you know, so and so. He's like, hell yeah. And we went to the same see some gameplay there. There's Sarah Stargirl, I believe. But what do we think, Gif? From what you saw in this trailer / like, I don't even know what you call this. A recap?
Yeah, it's a play test. It's an activation for, community and influencers. So I was working closely. I was working at Electronic Arts and then with the Ubisoft team running all of their influencer marketing campaigns for their new game launches for quite a few years before I was doing this. And one of the things that we would do is actually set up these game demos for influencers, where at the big conferences like E3 or whatever it was, we would actually rent out a space nearby or at the main location where we would set up these awesome demo zones, cool activations where the brand Ubisoft, Electronic Arts, and the game team would basically onboard influencers and give them first hands-on and an opportunity to capture content that they would then go and create their videos and stuff with. So that's what I like. This is what that feels like. It feels like a really high quality, awesome game demo activation for influencers and key content creators to come and get the first hands-on experience, but also part of that is to get feedback from them, right? So clearly, they're getting a lot of feedback, a lot of that, positive feedback loop going with these creators, with people that they think are important or that matter in the space. They get some of this content out there in cool different ways. I'm sure there will be a lot more content from this activation that you continue to see over the coming weeks, etc. But the fact that, it's not just like, hey, random influencers that play games. It's like, no, it's like, these are people from the community members that are getting this. This is additional value and utility. That's really fucking dope. And yeah, two other friends that I saw in there. I saw Sharam in there. I saw Jeff Nicholas in there, some others. So I think it's really cool. And it made me feel bummed that I didn't, still have my ape and wasn't, getting to go. Cause I'm here in LA. I've been an OG ape holder and advocate. I would like to go to that type of thing. And so I think it's cool for those that did. And how many other Web3 native brands are doing this type of exclusive, high quality demonstration where the founders are there and they've got this top secret like studio rented out with fucking food, and they actually have a legit product that you're testing, a legit fucking game. It's a real reason to be there. It's not just like, hey, vibes, come look at our plushies. Like, yo, look at the fucking future of Web3 gaming. So I think it's really fucking cool, man. And I think a lot of the stuff they had there was like, made by apes. Yeah, Bored and Hungry, like that shit too. It's just like, dude, look at the power of what they're building here. This is like 360 shit, Yeah. This is next level, man. I think it's amazing.
So Baron is in there with his newly minted pink hair. And we had a conversation on the Wild Wild Web podcast about how Bored Ape Yacht Club is the greatest example of decentralized brand building that has been built yet. I would love to see another product come in here and actually do that better than them. Like, that's what this space needs, is to have more products that do this. I think we brought up Pudgy Penguins doing this right now, and I think it's a great work by them. I don't know about any community derivative projects from them, though. I would love to see that from the Pudgy ecosystem. Nick Swerve is saying Shoke is a clown. Actually like that crazy asshole. Easy and Crypto saying cool John, who is saying he's finally catching a live NFT live from China. So big shout out to John Dietz for being here and listening to us all the way across the world out there in China. I don't know what's happening with Hong Kong tickets right now for Ape Fest Hong Kong, but I might be out there. We'll see. I'll let you know. Quantum Variant saying I took the staking rewards and converted it to ETH. LOL. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Listen, man, I'm not going to sit up here and talk about 8-point staking for a long time here, but I've completely made now I'm down in USD. So everybody could, claim my thought process with staking is that I take probably a year or 2 to 3 year timeline on ApeCoin itself. Like there is no utility for ape other than staking right now. There's some minor ones. I think there's obviously the heavy metal sync. There have been some Gucci drops. There have been some smaller activations, but I think long term, especially when this bull market returns, I'm trying to accumulate as much ape as possible. And so I have not sold a single ape coin. I have restaked everything that I've had, and now I've already made more than I entered with. So I know the APYs were like talked about early on, and were extremely high. I think they were at one point they were like 300%, 400% for the different pools. Well, I've already made as much ape as what I entered with, and I'm continuing, right? I'm entering into the ape staking pool. So that has been good. Again, not from a USD value in this current market, but my prediction, my thesis, and why I'm stacking ape is because I think ape goes to 10. I think ape goes to 20 in an environment when you see ETH at 6K, when you see BTC at all-time highs. Do I think it outperforms Bitcoin and Ethereum, in an environment where they go sideways? Absolutely not. And so I'm hoping that this stabilizes somewhere around $1.50, $2. Hopefully the ApeCoin DAO can start getting their shit together. But staking has been, in my opinion, really profitable for me, and I'm benefiting, I think, in the long term, really extremely well.
Yeah, I haven't been as big or successful with it as you are, but I did make, for a while, it was paying my rent initially. And from what I've seen, like using it, watching it, I would say that it's been very successful compared to most other staking things so far. And I do think, to your point, like, I think you have the right outlook, like at least a few years on this, to try and judge it right now during this market doesn't make any sense. It's like, how does it perform against other things when things turn around? That's going to be the real test. So I think you're playing it well, man. I think you're going to come out of this a massive winner when shit does turn around. I think you're going to be, yeah.
And people will say, look, like in the short term, you could have done XYZ. One, impossible to really like make the exact moves and know exactly what's going to happen. Right? Of like saying, hey, you could have sold that ape and then bought back earlier or bought back later, all this stuff. I'm just stacking ape. Like that's, I have conviction in that the token will do well in the environment I just talked about. So, Quantum
ladies, well, I was just going to say, ladies and degenerates, welcome to the Yuga Show. Also smash the like if you haven't. We appreciate it. Makes a big difference getting it out there. And we need more help getting it out there, to be honest. We really do. We got to get some good content, some useful editorial entertainment and education out to the masses or whoever. I don't know. But help us out with a like.
So Quantum Variant saying, same queue. I double the amount of ape I began with and chose to swap rewards to ETH from there. Look, in the short term, I don't disagree with that move. That is probably a fantastic move to diversify and try to spread out whatever you're making from staking. I'm just saying, if I really needed that, I would be taking it out. Don't get me wrong. So I'm just betting fully on ape here in the next cycle. But let's move on. So the last thing related to this is the original question. I think Kevin was bringing up some points I agree with, some points I don't. He's saying Gutter Cats have a b-ball team. We love that move. Like, again, it sucks that it's not, translating to any type of floor price action, but we've been talking about Gutter Cat's b-ball team and how that's a really cool little activation that they should lean into sports. Honestly, having a sports related community is what they should do. He's also saying, you just said all the buzzwords in one sentence. Talk about your land values or ApeCoin. I see. Talk about my land values in ApeCoin. My entry price is 0. Like, so I think there's something as I am agreeing with you on, but really I think leaning on a lot of your comments, I'm not vibing with them. We'll see where the floor price goes in the short term, though. I mean, that's the craziest thing. As you see it get into the 20s, can it go below 20? So my guess would be no, but like there's going to be people that want to pick some up, but we can move on. But any last thoughts?
Mutant apes, I think. What are they at right now? Are they 5 ETH?
5.
I think mutants touch 3 ETH.
5, 6.
I think they touch 3 ETH.
We had a CryptoPunks question as well. The CryptoPunks floor is 47 50 at the current bid. Top bid though is going to be 45 ETH. I don't know how much these are actually actively traded. 7-day volumes 234 ETH. So that's not that much when you think about the actual value of these pieces, as much as they're trading hands, I should say. All right, couple quick pieces here. Parallel, the trading card game on Ethereum, I believe, is launching their beta today. Parallel has been around for a long time. They're OGs in the space. So to see them launching their beta today is pretty awesome. It looks like they're going to have a stream as well. I don't believe me and GIF are holders. I haven't purchased any Parallel. It would have had to been when they just launched like 2 years ago that I have anything.
Flubber's the only person that I know that's definitely heavy in on this. Okay. But we've been trying to cover it and talk about it a little bit because it does look like they're doing something interesting. But it's another card game right now, right? It seems like card games are continuing to kind of get more traction, which, you know, within Web3 and NFTs makes sense, right? Like people are familiar with collecting character cards and trading cards and things like that. It's a great way to have characters as sort of collectibles within some kind of game format. I don't know. I looked at the art, the like avatars that they just dropped. I thought they were decent. I mean, we can pull those up if you want.
I'm gonna pull those up here in a sec.
Yeah, I think they're called parallel avatars, something like that.
They in fact are.
Yeah, I think they're decent looking, but I guess it's more of like a utility play here too, right? So I guess these are either characters or, you know, give you some kind of different utilities within the game.
Yeah, trading cards are an ideal situation, like test out game theory and game economics for these tokens. Because what you're doing is like not waiting 3 years and trying to support a token in that time. So that's what you see with like Star Atlas, where they're like trying to build out this massive game and have 2 tokens associated with it. It's like, where do you fucking go from there? But you're starting with a really simple game and you're adding tokenomics to it.
Yeah, and to your point, the game is also simple. So it's like you don't have to build some crazy immersive 3D open world, you know, to play a card game. So it makes sense.
All right, biggest story of the day here we're going to hop into. Before we do so, leave a like down there in the like section. If you haven't been on this channel before, hit that subscribe as well. We're here every single day getting after it on NFT and Web3 news. We also have a Twitter Spaces show, X Spaces show, I should say. I wonder how the
that was close. That was close.
No, I overstepped. I overstepped. Daddy, Elon, please. We have an X Spaces show as well as a podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast called the Wild Wild Web Podcast, where I sit down for like 60-minute interviews, in-depth discussions with some awesome founders in the industry as well. So that's what we're doing here on the network. Again, appreciate it if you give it a like right now so that we could get the most amount of folks in here. But here's the biggest story of the day in NFT and Web3 fashion. Of course, it's about something ridiculous. CryptoDickButts says, it's okay, my turn. Is this a good time? This is CryptoDickButt Series 4 or Basement Dwelling Neat once again asked for your donations with extreme style. There is a twist. Mint will remain up until conditions are met. Passing of the torch. All right, so here's the story, folks. CryptoDickButts is now on a fire sale. They are being transitioned to community ownership via this Season 4 mint. Whoever owns the most CryptoDickButts by the end of this season and this mint will get access to the Twitter account, the Discord server, all collections, multi-sig treasury, and other CDB-related assets.
So I'm curious, first of all, like how the tokenomics of these seasons works. I have a lot of thoughts on this. Where do you want me to start, Q?
With your spiciest take. And also, if y'all are in chat, I would love to hear y'all's take, because this one is super controversial all over the place. I get very ruggy vibes from this. Again, rug is an overused term in this industry. I understand. I'm not calling it a rug, but I get some my spidey senses start tingling. Okay, but go ahead.
Yeah. To me, the quote unquote ruggiest part of it is around this season 4 drop and like how that operates, the logistics. Because if they're basically diluting the supply before they leave, taking a bunch of money and then leaving, yeah, that feels kind of cash grabby, to Chaz's point, and not great. However, if a portion or a large portion of that is going into a treasury or something for the community, hey, I'm not mad at that. And I'm not mad at creators trying to find ways to keep projects going without tying their entire lives to something. The other thing about it is like, I'm curious about any roadmaps or promises that they'd made. I'm not familiar enough with CryptoDickButts to know if they had some big grand roadmap that they'd sold everybody on. If so, okay, call it a rug. Because that to me is what a rug is. It's when you take a bunch of money for things that you never plan to actually deliver on, and you don't even try to, right? So if they took a bunch of money on big promises of a game or some shit, then okay, call this a rug. But if it's just creators that have put in a bunch of time trying to build something that are trying to figure out the best way to move on from it, I don't think that's a rug. And this is where the term starts to become meaningless because we apply it too broadly. I think it could be actually a very interesting experiment to see what happens, because what they're basically trying to do is orchestrate a buyout via the NFT tokenomics in the community, right? They're basically saying like they're treating their NFTs like a stock in a way. They're absolutely saying whoever buys the most owns the most of the project, thereby cares the most, and will take over the company, quote unquote company. And you can make an argument that if the founders are basically disinterested or burnt out or over it and don't really want to be continuing to invest their time and energy, then somebody who has a large bag tied to it that invests a lot of money because they care in it, they see that it can be something else, or they believe in it long term, they might be a better owner for it. They might actually shepherd it more effectively or just care more about it long term than the founders currently do. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I don't know. I'm interested in it. I see the concerns. I don't know why it's dumping. Like if unless people again are just concerned about the cash grab, dilution, and not having clear leadership. Okay, I get it. But let me say this: nothing's financial advice. Blah blah blah. To me, I would be watching this floor, and if I had more liquidity, I might be trying to buy in, because I think that the CryptoDickButts are one of the most interesting projects out there, because it's a well-known meme, and it somehow became one of the biggest projects ever launched as a ridiculous fucking meme for no other reason other than it's pixelated CryptoDickButts. And on that podcast, 6529 was talking about them saying, you know, it's only the 65th biggest project or something like that, and yet we're talking about it next to CryptoPunks and Ringers, right? Because there's something emergent about it. There's something interesting and memeable about it. So not financial advice, but depending on how low they get, it might be an interesting opportunity.
They do hold this weird kind of meta, I feel like, in this aura around the project. Like they're not necessarily beholden to like a traditional PFP project, and they're not necessarily also just art. Like it kind of rhymes with punks. I think that even Punk 6529 brought up this project in relation to talking about art, right? So I think there's an element there that you can pick out this from and say, yeah, well, CryptoDickButts is one of the only projects that can do this, that maybe people would, like you're doing, side with like, hey, this is just kind of provenance. Like it's a meme. Like it's not necessarily Oni Force coming out tomorrow and saying, hey, we're going to transfer everything to the team. We're gone. It is what it is, because it's not a meme. It's like a project built around hopefully a future business model.
Well, you know, so there is something artistic about these even though, again, I'm not the biggest fan of pixel art, I do think some pixel art is better than others. There's something very creative about these and unique. And on the meme side of it, what's interesting to me is so many of the projects and NFTs are riffing off of existing famous internet memes. But how many Web3 native memes have really taken off? And what I mean is like, okay, we have GM, but that's not an NFT project. That's just a saying. We have WagMe. That was just a saying too. How many crypto Web3 native things became memes? I mean, some of the biggest projects you could argue have a memeable quality. Something like a Bored Apes, you could argue, has kind of become a meme in certain ways, right? Because of how broadly that's been applied and shared in different unique ways on the internet. But this to me seems like a unique example of a totally original meme that originated as a crypto native project. Maybe MFers might be like one other example. That's also why I like that project. There's not that many, I don't think.
Yeah.
That are like completely original to Web3 that take off like that are just very memeable.
All right, this is from NFT statistics saying CryptoDickButt's down 25%. It's now down about 37% after the team announced that control of the project will go to whoever the biggest holder of CDB assets is after the 4th series mints out. I can get behind a lot of what you're saying. Like, I think there's a good argument to be made. I don't think it's a good argument to say that there's going to be some whale whose only prerequisites is to be a holder of ETH or just like a large holder of assets to say that they're going to be a great founder for CryptoDickButts going forward. I don't really think that's probably a good take. Like, I just, if I was a holder, I'd be very concerned if like Machi took over my project. Like, it just, I don't know. Maybe Machi has enough like Elon in him where he takes up a large chunk of like what X is talking about most of the time, which is obviously good for a project. We've seen that with Luca Nets and other things, but just a random dude who just has a bunch of money taking over the project and it doing better than the original founders. I would much rather see this be a DAO-led project or something like that.
Yeah, it's a different model, right? A different experiment. Who knows?
All I'm saying, Gremplin leaving. Did Gremplin leave Cryptodes?
I guess. I don't know. I was never deep into Cryptodes. I remember Buff got kind of into them. I remember the video when it first dropped of how ridiculous that one was. That's also kind of like a meme too, right? That originated out of the space. So I do think there's a fair comparison there. So maybe. But like, I think it begs the bigger question of like, what is the end game here for a pixel project that's a meme that launched, okay, in 2021, 2022, you watched Cryptodes, you watched MFers, you watched CryptoDickButts, you probably saw with at least those projects way more success than maybe you even imagined. Like, they probably blew up bigger than you thought. You're probably like, holy shit, I didn't expect these dumb fucking creature thing drawings to get this much attention, but you get that success, people latch on to it for some reason. Then what? Like, especially again, like you see CyberKongz trying to pivot into illustrated art and expand onto other chains. Okay, they're trying to figure out a way forward, but it's not clear, really. You see Moonbirds expanding into illustrated art and still trying to figure out, okay, we're the artists community now. We're gonna lore and storytell around these mythics and use that art moving forward. So like they're trying to figure something out, but it's not super clear exactly where all their projects, how they come along for that ride. Where does something like a Cryptodes or an MFers even go? Like, are those founders supposed to stick around in a Discord for the rest of their lives, like fielding questions and like answering to people that are just fudding them all the time? Like,
Yeah. So the NFT projects that, again, in a very Dick Butts-esh way, I can't believe my life. The fact that I'm just saying those assortment of items.
Dick-Butts-esque? Did we just coin a new term? Dick-Butts-esque?
Those that associate themselves with a meme or some type of art focus, I think can get away with this a little bit more. But what you have to be comfortable with here in this space is there are no like regulatory rails that stop this stuff from happening, because that's what happens in traditional business, right? Like you have to go through all of these hoops to get listed on the stock exchange and list it and go public, so that this stuff doesn't happen where it's like, hey, we're Peloton, we're done. You know, like we're you own 10,000 shares of Peloton, and oh yeah, by the way, like we're transferring this to if you own the most Pelotons, you get to own Peloton now. Like this is what you have to be comfortable with in Web3. It is the Wild West, so know that you could lose your money at any time. Like that's the thing. People are going to come in here and look at this, something like this, and say, this is why we need more regulation, right? Because teams can't just get up and leave whenever they want to fucking think about it after raising a ton of money. Because that's the piece here. The team has made a lot of money, and there's a lot of people that invested in these mints. Yes, they see it as investments, GIF. I don't know if you want to like go this route based on thinking that CryptoDickButts would do something in the future. That's what they did.
Okay, but there's a difference between them selling it as an investment and promising a big roadmap versus somebody buying a fucking meme of a JPEG and saying, I'm a fucking investor. Okay, these are wildly different things. And this is why I'd love some clarity if anybody knows. Did they make big promises? I'm not deep enough into that community to know. I don't think they did. As far as I know, I haven't heard people talking about a CryptoDickButts game or some crazy shit. All I've heard about is the art and the meme and the ridiculousness of it. So I doubt that they made a bunch of big crazy promises and said like, yo, this is an investment in some future company. If they did, that's fucked up that they would do this. I doubt they did. And in which case, you're just a bunch of people that bought pixelated dick butts that think that you're a fucking investor. Like that's on you.
This is the ironic thing about this industry though, is that, okay, so therefore, based on that logic, I would tell a prospective NFT collection creator to not have any roadmaps, to not launch anything, because eventually you can just go back and say, hey, this is just a meme. This is just a JPEG. This is just this. And then you don't have as much innovation, I think, and as much like entrepreneurship, because that's just kind of...
I kind of disagree, because what you do is you encourage, I think, better communication and behavior. Because you say like, hey, if you don't plan on building something long-term, then don't say it. You're always going to have the innovators and the people that do want to try and do a startup and build a game, do that. But I think the idea is you want to get out of that middle ground where it's people that don't know what the fuck that they're doing, that are making big promises that really have no ability or intention to deliver on it. You want to get rid of that.
That's a good point. That's what you saw in the ICO era, also, which was just promises.
Yeah, I want to be clear again, though. Like, I think this is short-term thinking at its best, as always, and I don't necessarily know that this is a bad move for CryptoDickButts. We're assuming that it is. People are obviously betting right now by selling and the floor tanking that this is bad. I don't know that it actually is, depending on who takes it over, and or just like depending on if CryptoDickButts continue to be a thing that people talk about. It might continue to be a thing that people talk about regardless of who takes it over, because it's CryptoDickButts and it has achieved a lot of awareness.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, what's their unique holders at? What's the community actually like?
I would need to check that out on something like Inspector.
Yeah,
I would like to see the amount of people that are rocking.
36%. Yeah, 36% unique holders. Not super great, but it's not bad either. It's pretty decent. So right. Yeah, about like a little bit less than 2,000 unique holders.
They just died the end. Marty, I don't know what you're talking about. You're catching up on 2x speed, I believe.
He's talking about CryptoDickButts.
Sure. Okay. All right. Any last takes there on CDBs? And then we also have a 10K TF piece. This is a pretty small piece of news. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but 10K TF holders, I was sitting up here getting absolutely roasted. Just roasted talking about how I thought 10K TF was one, if not one of the best collections. They're sitting up near S tier in the NFT space. And I just got flamed. Well, they just worked out a great partnership with Gucci. These guys got physical Gucci duffel bags.
Like custom, like limited edition.
Yeah, probably like 2 or 3K worth for just completing, I believe, completing multiple missions in 10K TF.
Yeah.
So this comes from NFT Believer. Worth highlighting that the Gucci cloth needed to get this physical Gucci bag was a free airdrop for participating in one of the 10K TF missions. Very rarely do you see brands give physical product for a completely free drop. Cool to see.
Yeah, it's really fucking cool to see, because that was one of my biggest question marks around the Gucci and some of these other big fashion houses coming into the space is, where are they actually providing value back in a meaningful, new, interesting way to holders? Or does it just end up being another extraction event where they're constantly launching $40,000 fucking cases, whatever those fucking Louis Vuitton cases or whatever were? And I had my doubts, that some of these companies that have very expensive, marked up physical goods would be wanting to be hooking people up in any sort of meaningful way. I had my doubts, but this looks like a really cool thing. This looks like a legit hookup that NFT collectors are getting here. I would rock that bag. Like if I had a 10K, and I'm not a Gucci dude. I don't fucking buy a lot of Gucci. It's not really my style, but that's pretty dope.
All right, I'm trying to pull up this announcement here by Yuga Labs. I want to bring this up. Now, there's no Yuga show here happening. We've already kind of touched on that, but you can see we are proud to announce Yuga is acquiring Roar Studios, a music and metaverse startup led by longtime entertainment executive Eric Reed, to execute our expansive vision on the other side. So I want to dive in here. I want to make sure that we can kind of look at this, but I'm not going to be able to pull that up on my screen, GIF. So if you can potentially do that, I can drop this in the private chat and you can do it. Shout out to Squash Man, who's always bringing these up. And we appreciate you very much for doing so. Finding the alpha while we're up here and just info. But I do love a good alfalfa drop. Yuga Labs is excited to announce the acquisition. Developer Roar. All right, there we go. What do you got?
So announcing the acquisition of Roar Studios, a company that at the convergence of gaming, social media, and the metaverse with deep tech and AI roots. Roar Studios is the developer of Roar, an immersive media experience where artists and fans connect, collaborate, and compete in real time from anywhere. Roar's passion for creating virtual, immersive social experiences brings talent, innovative tech, and specialized expertise that greatly complements their expansive vision for other side. This is awesome.
I want to know what they pulled off. That's my first question. Is what immersive experiences have they pulled off? So I'm going to try to do a little bit of research here while we're live on the show. Of course, this just dropped, but I would love to see what other things they've done.
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome just because music is super important. Audio, sound design, to pulling off any sort of cinematic experience. If you don't also have top-notch audio engineers and musicians, producers, I mean, it's just not going to be a full or high-quality experience, right? You can have the dopest visuals in the world, but if you've got shitty audio, it's going to ruin the experience.
your couch. No more lessons to learn, bridges to burn. I done did it all. When you the best, I need a test. Tell me who you call.
Yeah, so I don't know. Look, I'm excited for this because again, it shows that they continue to load up their fucking capabilities and invest heavy in creating a super high quality immersive experience that's going to be just absolutely next level, top notch.
All right, Eric Reed will join Yuga Labs as the general manager of Other Side Meta. He will work alongside the experienced Yuga executive team to evolve the vision and lead the development and production of the platform. I mean, they're acquiring a ridiculous amount of talent here. Hopefully that talent can get after it. You know, my take here would be like, a lot of times when you have this like really large company that you do acquire this talent, and then maybe they're kind of like just there as figureheads, and it's kind of like a cushy gig and things like this. Like, I know that's a super pessimistic take, but I kind of want to like not overly simp here, because they've got Daniel Alegre from Blizzard as CEO now. They now have Eric Reed, who's going to be the general manager of Other Side Meta, which I'm guessing is like, what is that, like similar to a project lead on the other side? I'm trying to like general manager of a game.
Yeah, GM. I mean, that means that he is responsible for making sure that all the GMs are GMing properly each GM. So it's no, I mean that means that he's managing the managers, right? Like that means that like he's probably the project leader of project leaders, right? So like there's probably a bunch of different managers and projects all working, and he needs to make sure that they're all moving forward strategically, on time, on budget, et cetera, et cetera. So to your point that like, you know, sometimes people can get lazy when they reach a certain level. That's true. That's certainly true. However, I think this situation is very unique. And I think that both the people that would be attracted to make this move and also Yuga themselves in their hiring are going to be looking for people that are highly motivated to try and like revolutionize gaming. And this is a big lift and a huge opportunity. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much to be done at Yuga that like I don't think that they're going to be holding a lot of dead weight, because I imagine every single day there's a lot of shit to get done to actually try and stay on any sort of project roadmap or calendar, whatever schedule with delivering the other side. It's a massive undertaking. And I just don't think that you get into that position or go after that position unless you see an opportunity to be like, yo, this could be one of the biggest things I ever work on in my fucking life. Yeah. Like this could be absolutely game changing for me, for the world, for Web3, for the internet, for gaming, the whole gaming industry. This could be world changing. So I just would be surprised if they're like spending a bunch of fucking money to bring on people that are just going to be half-assing it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe that's too simpy, but like, I don't know, man. Like, dude, gaming studios in general are fucking intense places to work. Like,
yeah. Look, I'm not up here saying it's all going to, crumble and these people are just going to get a cushy job and not work as hard. But it seems like they're doing a lot of really great work on the acquisition side. The team behind 10KTF, obviously bringing in Daniel to lead the company when he's formerly at Blizzard. And now this guy coming in as general manager here for the other side. I mean, that they're doing a lot of acquisitions here. So I'm just hoping that they pay off well in the end. We did get a Chromie Squiggles update. We got, I think 50 Squiggles got minted here on Friday. These are them. These are the pretty Chromie Squiggles that got minted here via Art Blocks.
I liked yeah, and it's cool to see this where you can see like the variation in the generative art and the algorithm here. I learned that there's something called like ghost ringers or something. Is that what they're called? The ghost rings.
Is this the ghost ringers right here?
It's where the circles are perfectly white. So yeah, that might be it. But apparently there's only been 4 minted of them now, so they're like super rare. where the background and the rings are like the same color, so they're like ghost rings or something like that.
Yeah, the ones that really get me are the ones that are ribbed. Like I really think that they just look different, right? Like they pop a little bit different in that environment. So like I don't know if we can zoom in. Let me make sure. Might be able to open this. So this is going to be a little bit hard to see here, but you can see like that one is ribbed there. Those ones really stand out to me as being like ones that I'm interested in owning one day. But yeah.
That's interesting because ghost ribbed or something. I actually like the ones that don't show them. I like the ones that have the like clean color squiggle.
So like this,
like so I don't know. The black ones are kind of interesting, but I don't think they pop as nice. I think I would just want like a vibrant, clean color squiggle. Probably.
So is that a ghost? Is that what we're looking at?
Well, that one's not fully white, so you can see they're gray, right? So it's the ones where they totally fade away. Ghost ribbed, I guess. Marty also coming in with maybe the best comment of his life
he's ever made.
Actually,
wow!
I can actually get behind, and that's that. It's been all downhill in video games since Contra. Right on, Marty.
I thought you were gonna say because he smashed the like.
Oh, because he smashed the like. I do appreciate
smashing the thumbs down, guaranteed.
Yeah, probably.
No, he's not. All right, again, we're gonna pop out of this. These just got minted on Friday. This one right here. Yeah, that's
the ghost ribbed.
It's like you can almost barely see it. That's fucking crazy. Yeah. Anyways, I would have loved to mint one of these. A lot of big wins happened there. Congratulations to all the minters. A lot of great bids happening on those. Artblocks is one of the most successful NFT platforms that exists in the industry today. Like you want to point to something that's doing well, point to something that maybe can be recreated via something like a prohibition.art, right? Like there.
Sotheby's. Yeah.
Sotheby's. Hopefully.
I would love to work at Artblocks. Because they have figured out a sustainable business model, I think. And that's that they license their platform and their tech out to all these different platforms, man. And they get a percentage cut on all transactions. It's fucking brilliant. Dude, Snowfro is going to go down as like a fucking genius because he was so early on creating, this platform of, putting generative art on chain. And it's actually amazing what they've done.
All right, we love to highlight Punk 9059 here, otherwise known as NFT statistics. He just has really great, off the cuff statistics to kind of throw at you on either Twitter threads or these one-off tweets. So he's saying year to date, these are the least traded NFTs. Right. So not in like volume, I think just like trading hands. Still haven't traded a single time. 96% of ringers, 95% of Fidenzas, 95% of Chromie Squiggles, and more than 90%. So 91 of CryptoPunks have not changed hands. He also brought up percentage of minted NFTs which have never traded, which it's a little bit of a flawed data statistic in my opinion, because I like even personally and anecdotally, I'm still a Bored Ape. I don't have my original ape, right? So they move around based on like what you want to get into. Some people like an ape and can trade up, or sometimes you trade down based on just like having got into it at different times. But yeah, you can see it here. What's up?
Well, but also there's a lot of projects that have very, very low like percentage trading that are not doing well, right? So yeah, it's an interesting thing. I like the assumption here is that because these projects have high volume, that there would be a lot of them being traded and flipped. And so, you're trying to get some kind of handle on the diamond handedness within the community here. But to your point, like it's a very rough measurement that may or may not really tell you that much. But I do think that given especially given that this whole year we've been in a bear market, we've seen a shit ton of liquidity leaving the space, and those are some of the most valuable NFTs there are. You would think there'd probably be some more people selling. So the fact that there's not shows definitely a lot of diamond handedness in those collections, because there's a lot of value locked up in those NFTs right now that is not moving. Despite the market. So,
okay. I'm trying to pull up the last few topics that I have. We do want to cover, at least briefly, the results of Genkai. I think the team would be happy in a sense. I mean, they raised $3 million from this mint. It was an expensive mint price, 0.25. It minted out immediately on the Ronin network, which they're going to work with closely there with the Axie Infinity guys. Immediately sells out 3,000, doesn't sell out, or at least doesn't look like it's going to sell out on Ethereum, and therefore they lowered the supply from 9 to 3, and they also said everyone who mints is getting another. So they, using those tactics, they ended up selling out. I believe the current supply is 13,000 Genkai. I can pull up the chart here, so it looks like 0.89 or 0.189 right now for a floor price Genkai pre-reveal.
I wonder how they got to 13,000. I guess there's 1,000 sitting somewhere too that they're going to do something with. I'm sure they like have their own vault or treasury.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see here 28% unique ownership. Let me try to go back. See if I can go back. Let's see. I was trying to get to the collection number. Do we say 13,000 supply there? So these are pre-reveals. I do think these will dump post-reveal. That's like across the board what happens to any NFT collection post-reveal. But we do see 0.189. And to your point on the morning show this morning, because I think this is above wherever their mint price is, right? Because they got 2. So again, the number would be 0.125, but they are locked into that, or they will see like a fee that would even be over that if they try to sell the second one. That's airdropped essentially, I believe.
Yeah. So we were taking odds on this one. We were like, what is it going to be a week out and a month out? I think I said I thought it would be below mint price within a month. I didn't think it would go this low this fast though. But man, tough fucking market to be launching right now.
And that's why I bring up this tweet. And I think you're right to say that about Genkai. But also, if you look at everything else that's minted this past month, like the fact that they're even still holding whereabouts. I mean, people are technically up. You can't sell it without taking a fee, but you have 2 Genkais that are worth 0.189. So take that for what you will. It's not 70% down or 60% down, whatever the fuck Azuki's at right now. I mean, at least it's not that. But it would have been nice.
Ether's below 0.1.
Yeah. I think we go back to the mint price, man. If they, I think we were honing in on that, and I think they paid for it, but ultimately they raised or $3 million, and hopefully they could now, take that IP and run with it.
Yeah, this is one of those where I think there's actually some success to look at here, but a lot of people will consider it a failure just because they had to cut and the floor is dropping already. But I don't think this is by any means like a massive failure for the team and stops them from continuing to build. So, congrats on them for raising $3 million. I tend to agree again. I think the mint price was too high. And I think that they probably could have done a little bit better had they gone a little bit lower. And the thing that I don't really understand is like when you see these projects back to back to back trying these high mint prices and failing and falling on their face and catching all this flack, I don't know why it keeps happening. Mm-hmm. Like at this point, Q, if you were launching a project, why would you try and do a 0.25 or a 0.5 fucking mint price or something like that?
Depends on how large my team is. It depends on my runway.
I guess that's true. Like if you, that's true. There's things to factor into it, but if you're doing a large supply mint like this in this market, just doesn't seem to work.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Marty, good to see you here contributing, man. We appreciate your Chromie Squiggle inputs here today, as well as, of course.
Yeah, how's that sweater? Did you get that sweater, Marty? I want to see your Chromie Squiggle sweater, big guy.
Easy saying, Def smash the like. We appreciate you, brother. Let's go into some others. John D says 10KTF has crazy good style and taste. Obviously, putting skill into this market. We need more of that. Thank you. John, I wish you were here the other day because I got absolutely crucified for bringing 10KTF. Chaz is bringing up Supreme Kong. Chaz, I would ask you to send GIF any of those links in a DM because I tried pulling them up. I just want to make sure I'm pulling up the right collection. Abdul, Nick Swervis, Quantum Variant. Who else is here? DP is as well. Thank you guys for tuning in and showing up here today on a Monday. I know it's tough to get out on a Monday. Everyone's trying to catch up on the space and do all that stuff, but that's what we're here for. So, all right, we do have to pop out of here in the next 5 minutes. I don't really know where to start with what just happened on Coinbase's layer 2 base, but basically a token, there was a rush of DeFi tokens that were created on this new layer 2 that Coinbase has created. There's not even like a simplified bridge to use at this point, so people needed to use essentially a contract to bridge ETH over to that chain, but that created shitcoin casino mania over the weekend. The most prominent of those was a token called Bald, and the meme was Brian Armstrong is bald. Okay, so that's all you need to know about that token, because essentially what happened is people made thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in this run up, what you've seen on all the DeFi tokens. And then the original creator, the individual deployer of this contract, removed 7,000 ETH of liquidity, and it came crashing back down to earth. Now, there have been multiple other tokens launched up to this point. I guess TLDR, Base, again, the layer 2 created by Coinbase to house different applications and DeFi apps and just regular, decentralized apps, has been a honeypot for people launching these different tokens. So you can see there's a bunch of different tweets referencing this. McKenna saying Base is most likely the next Binance Smart Chain, with Coinbase leveraging the existing user base, acting as a primary method for retail onboarding. Expecting this chain to print millionaires. Research report on the entire ecosystem. Yada yada yada. A meme coin worth 100 million at its peak. So, Gif, I'll let you kind of jump in here, but essentially, again, what happened was people started to deploy ETH over to this layer 2. These meme coins got sprung up. People made a ton of money. People lost a ton of money. What's new? 40,000% gain on Bald at one point.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to sleep on this a little bit and think a little bit. I think, okay, one thing that is really jumping out at me, besides that, it's fucking amazing. Is that it seems like maybe a not great time, given the amount of scrutiny that Coinbase and everything's under from a regulatory front, to be having your own layer 2 becoming a cesspool for gambling and fraud and scams. Because that's 7,000 ETH is over $13 million that just basically got rugged out of that project. And again, I don't know, we use the word rug, but I mean, it's the deployer of the project that just removed all the liquidity. That seems like a rug, right?
Oh yeah, definition of the guy made off. Yeah. And I quote, $5.7 million in 2 days.
Yeah. So it seems like a kind of inopportune time. That's what just is hitting me in the face. It's isn't Brian Armstrong and Coinbase right now trying to make the case for why crypto, matters and deserves favorable regulatory scrutiny, or what? I don't know how this helps the case really. So I think it's interesting on that front of like how is Brian Armstrong going to respond and explain this, that literally somebody just dropped a coin about him being bald on his layer 2 and rugged millions of dollars from people. So I don't know, man. It's hard for me to kind of get past that interesting point at this moment to think more deeply on it.
That's a hell of a picture right here.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a lot of things. One, this was manipulated by the deployer. So a lot of the price action early on was him raising the price action and other early folks getting in and doing that, which if you did catch this at the right time, I'm sure you made a ton of money. Like that's fantastic. Again, there is no like usable front end UI at this point. So we talk about the meta and trying to find the meta before other people. That's a great example. If you were one of the folks that deployed into the contract and could get ETH over there, you did extremely well. But to Easy's
everybody
point,
else right after them did not.
same old is a great point here. I mean, 95% loss on the token in a 24-hour period. I didn't even know that, again, there's no front end, like I said, but I didn't even know that BAYC was active.
We talked about them launching, but like, yeah, we haven't really seen anything about it yet other than the fact that they like opened it up for devs and stuff. And yeah, I think Easy's right. Same old, same old. This is what you get. As soon as there's a new casino, there's going to be some early adopters, some early gamblers that go in and try and make it happen.
There's speculation that you couldn't remove money from the chain either.
Yeah, Marty saying blame the degens, not Brian Armstrong, and that's probably fair. But like, if you're launching these things, you have to know like this is going to be happening.
Yeah,
and I guess that's what an open protocol is about, right? It's you take the good with the bad.
Here's my other question, because we're sitting here talking about how there's such low liquidity in the NFT space. Nobody's buying into anything. No, there's no interest, and yet
it's just gamblers.
And yet,
just fucking
there's
gamblers
liquidity
right now,
enough to pump something like that. So that happened, and then the last thing, unfortunately, we have to end with another thing that's happening more on the crypto and macro side. Curve Finance, one of the largest DeFi protocols, DeFi platforms, applications, whatever you want to call it, got exploited for about $100 million. One of their pools had like a day one exploit, I believe. I can go into a little bit of it, but really what you need to know is a good amount of this is still in the hands of white hat hackers as well. But there was a really early on bug that they were able to exploit. So Curve, a stablecoin focused decentralized exchange, was the victim of an exploit late Sunday. According to a tweet from the project, Curve relies on smart contracts instead of middlemen to offer financial services such as stablecoin borrowing, trading, and lending. Upwards of $100 million worth of crypto are at risk due to a re-entrancing bug in Viper, a programming language used to power parts of the Curve ecosystem. Several stablecoin pools on the platform used for pricing and liquidity on a number of different DeFi services have been drained by hackers, though the amount was unclear at press time. So there's, we talked about the contagion from things like FTX. There usually is some type of contagion with DeFi exploits because all of these DeFi apps are like tied in together. So Curve getting exploited actually hurt other DeFi applications that were using Curve in the stablecoin there. So it's kind of a developing story. I think Curve is down for the most part. I don't know what the token looks like now. But I mean, look, I could say the same exact thing. Same old, same old. Like we're getting like how many DeFi exploits have we seen up to this point? And that's where we're at. So just keeping you guys updated on the macro front. We'll see what comes out of it. Again, here's the tweet from Curve Finance themselves. I can link that in the chat if you want to follow up.
Yeah, today's one of those days, man. Makes you want to take a vacation. It sucks, man. And then, yeah, you know what else sucks is that ever since the SBF stuff, I've been saying at least that the thing to watch out for is whether or not SBF actually faces any criminal charges or repercussions, or if all of his charges get dropped. And the latest coming out of the SBF saga here is that more charges are being dropped. Charges of campaign finance violations dropped against FTX founder SBF last month. Federal prosecutors dropped 5 of 13 charges, and now they're dropping more. And apparently this is actually due to like treaties with the US that were well known. So like it has something to do with when you extradite somebody from the Bahamas, anything that you're going to charge them with, you have to already know. You have to basically like put it into the extradition or whatever. And this is literally a law in the treaty between the US and the Bahamas. So if you don't already know all the crimes that they've committed when you extradite them, sorry, can't do anything about it. And it seems like this is a well-known loophole, that's the shady part about this, is that like if you're a lawyer or a government official and you're working on Bahama, criminal cases, you know about this loophole. You know what I mean? So that's what's shady here, is that it seems like there are loopholes that are starting to be holed.
I'm not surprised. So the one thing I'm not going to be surprised about either is like, it does feel like there's this overarching kind of angst in the general population, at least where, in the US, it definitely feels like something is about to happen in the next year or two. It just feels like the general population and the populace is kind of fed up with what's going on. And I know that happens every election cycle and people talk about that all the time, but there's something extra, man. Like there is definitely this like built up kind of, again, I just use the term angst against the people that are completely in control of this country right now. But that's all we'll say on that. I don't want to get banned from YouTube or anything. If you want to end on a really positive note, GIF got retweeted by Punk6529, and here is the podcast, and I just linked it there in chat. We've been talking about this honestly for 2-3 weeks. We've been showing you this interview, so you haven't done it at this point, please do, because it will bring you back from the darkness. It'll enlighten you on, or at least reignite that interest in that belief that you have, because he lays out his thesis, which are strong in my opinion, still to this day. Like the fundamentals on what he's talking about and why crypto matters and why NFTs matter is super strong, and he does a great job of illuminating that. So that will get you back on track if you are off the rails today. Otherwise, congrats on the retweet, GIF. Any last thoughts here before we get off the air today?
I mean, look, it's probably my most viewed tweet in a long time, so I really appreciate 6529 for everything you do, sir. I will simp for you a little bit more today. But to your point, really do highly recommend that podcast if you are feeling down and you're questioning why you're here. Take some time to touch some grass and go listen to that podcast, because it is great. And one of the things that I definitely took away from it was his assessment of where we are in the NFT timeline. If you've been here showing up every day, or you've been here for a couple of years now, that's a lot of crypto years. And it feels like it's been a very long bear market. But in his context, and we talk about like, are we still early, blah, blah, blah. In his context or POV, we're still very early. He sees where we're at right now as like, 2014 Bitcoin, like very, very early. So just keep that in mind, that we are still tremendously early and everything takes a little bit longer than you hope. So I don't know, man. Our vibe, our tribe.
Hell yeah. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be on GM Web3. It is Tech Tuesday. I don't know if we have a certain guest in, or we'll just be riffing on the news here, but we are going to be back as well on NFT Live. There is a Wild Web podcast this week. Excited to get that one out. Just moving into grooving here on a Monday. So we appreciate all of y'all. Easy. Who else was here today? DP, Quantum Variant, We didn't get to Chaz's collection there, but we might get to it tomorrow. We'll see what we can do. John Dietz from China. Big special shout out to you, brother. Good to see you catching live for the first time. Otherwise, we will again be back tomorrow. Leave a like. Our vibe, our tribe.